yourself. I'm not sure if I'm there yet, but I'd like to be there. Regarding others better than myself when God is first. When God is first, you don't have to sit on your rights and say to yourself, I deserve this, this isn't fair. You're willing to give up your rights for the honor and glory of God and the good of the church and the good of the body, as these Hebrew believers did. Now, when the apostles said it is not good for us to leave the Word of God and wait on tables, please don't misunderstand that. They were not saying that waiting on tables is beneath us because, after all, we are preachers of God's holy Word. It's very clear, as we'll see in a moment, that that's not what they meant. What they were saying is that there is a division of labor within the body. That some of us who are called to the ministry of the Word of God and prayer had better do that, and we can't do everything, and there are other people in the church who can do things that we can't do, and they can do them better than we can, and so let's divide up the labor for the good of the body and for the strength of the body. That's what they're saying. So how do you know that they didn't think that waiting on tables was beneath them? It's because notice the requirements that they have to be a servant, to wait on tables. That's the striking thing. My sermon today is based on verse 3. And in verse 3, you have 4 requirements that are given to wait on tables. And I think we're going to be surprised at what those requirements really are. First of all, it says in verse 3 that the 12 said, brothers, choose 7 men from among you. That's the phrase. Men who are committed to the body, whom God has raised up among us. Why that? You know, the early church, it says that when people were saved, it says they were added to the Lord. Not added to a denomination. They were added to the Lord. And the Lord's body was growing. And everyone who was saved was as much subject to the head as my hand is subject to my head. And so there was a part of everyone, or let me say it this way, everyone had a part in the body. Everyone had a place that they would fit. And what God was saying is that as my body grows and as it increases, it is subject to the head, and I keep increasing it in such a way that it can continue to increase. And therefore, look out for yourselves, because what you need to do is to realize that I have already placed my hand on people in your congregation among you who are going to be able to take over these responsibilities. Listen up, everyone who works in the kitchen at Moody Church, okay? And ushers, and car parkers, and greeters, and people who clean this building. Listen up. God says, from within you, I'm raising up leadership. Now let's talk about Moody Church for a moment. God has given us many fine ministries. But we as a staff spend an awful lot of time talking about the fact that we do not have enough people to fill in the gaps and to minister. Yes, we've heard about Cabrini Green and how we thank God for that ministry, and we do need other churches to help us there. But we also have children's ministries right here. And some of our children's ministries are languishing because there are not enough people to fill in the gaps. Could it be that God, who raises up ministries, also raises up leadership for those ministries, but there's somebody sitting in the balcony today, somewhere, that is supposed to be involved, but isn't? Well, this is Pastor Lutzer, and of course, as I ended my message today, this part of it, I was talking specifically about the Moody Church, but I suspect that I may be talking about your church as well, no matter where you find yourself. That there are too many people who come to be edified, they come to meet their friends, they come even to worship. But unfortunately, their commitment stops short of wholehearted involvement. Now, some of that may be the fault of the church leadership, most assuredly, but some of that responsibility also rests with the people in the pew, the people who attend. So I want to conclude today by emphasizing the need for all of us to be involved. And of course that means at different levels. For some people,
who may have physical disabilities, etc., your involvement may be encouragement and prayer. But there are others of you who have the gift of teaching, the gift of leadership, working on the trustee board, because you know something about building. Here's what I want you to do. Think about your church for a moment and simply say, what contribution can I make? We're not talking today about money. That's important, but that's not what we're saying. What contribution can you make with your giftedness? Gifts of administration, gifts of help, gifts of leadership, gifts of teaching, gifts of edification. God has blessed our churches with people who have these gifts. Today I encourage you, let's step up to the plate and let's make a difference.
Thank you, Dr. Lutzer. Dr. Erwin Lutzer has brought part 1 of He Owns Our Status, the 6th message in his series, When God is First, taken from the book of Acts. Tomorrow, more insights from Acts chapter 6 on how God calls each believer to serve in a local church. Running to Win comes to you from Chicago's Moody Church. All 8 messages in this series can be yours on CD, cassette, or MP3. For full information, call toll-free at 1-800-215-5001. That's 1-800-215-5001. Ask about When God is First. Encourage us by writing to Dr. Lutzer at Running to Win, 1609 North LaSalle Boulevard, Chicago, Illinois, 60614. Don't forget, Running to Win is supported by listeners like you. This is Dave McAllister. Join us tomorrow for our next Running to Win.